Okay, podcast community, YouTube, welcome back to episode 22. This is Three Questions Podcast. My name's Cam. Thank you guys for watching, listening, subscribing, supporting, liking, commenting, and sending in your own questions. I'm getting a lot of different kinds of questions, and today our overall topic is masculinity, and I'll get to those in a second. However, I just want to preface that you can submit more questions anytime you want. 3questionspodcast@gmail.com, or go to ckcollective.co and you can submit questions there under the podcast tab. Also, two ways you can work with me. If you didn't know, if this is your first episode, I run strategy sessions mostly for entrepreneurs and men. So I've had a lot of female business owners as well. But if you want to talk about the ethos and pathos of your life and your business, this is really where I focus on the intersection of my coaching. But I believe that your personal and your professional life have this crazy intersection where everything in your life is sort of congregated. And that needs to be a very, very clean, crisp place. And if it's an uncomfortable place for you, I would urge you to get coaching in whatever fashion that you truly believe you need help in. Okay, whether that's figuring out where that is, whether it's getting more discipline, consistency, or whether it's sort of tools that you need to sort of start forging a better life. That's really where I focus my coaching. And I have done a lot of incredible things. I've started some really cool companies, and I've done some really cool things professionally that I'm very proud of. Okay, my 13 plus years of, being an expat and then also working in advertising for so long. It's really been awesome to work with a lot of different kind of people, and I hope that you're getting some more free education out of this podcast as well. I know it's short. However, you can book sessions on there, ckcollective.co, or if you have an established business that you just purely need marketing help on, and marketing, advertising, sales, investing, whatever that is, product development, I will help you forge that. You can book that under the CMO for Hire tab. That is all on the website as well. So those two ways you can work with me, or you can just interact with me and engage on the podcast. So I want to get into this podcast. Question number one, here we go. Episode 22. Where has masculinity gone? Is it under attack? I love this question. In my coaching sessions, I talk a lot about masculinity, especially with my male clients, because I truly believe that the world is a better place when there are better men in it. Okay. I'm sure you've all heard the adage. Hopefully I don't butcher this, but hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. I believe that this passage, whether it's from the Bible or whether it's from some sort of Stoic philosopher, I think that masculinity is always been really hard to understand for majority of people, right? Not just women, but I think for men too, everyone has a different definition for what masculinity is. And what I believe masculinity is, I believe it's being a radiator in life. It's always being in pursuit of growth and empowering others selflessly around you. Not giving to the point of your own demise, but I truly believe that it's becoming a beacon of what it means to be a human being. I think it's the pinnacle of the human experience. I think that a lot of masculine energy is wanting to protect and provide, and I think it's all very selfless. And to me, that's where masculinity starts. And I think it's been demonized in culture as of late, and I do not know why this is. I don't know if it's from the Disney thing. I don't believe that it's stemming from women, but I believe it comes from an overall societal perspective of just, there's so many we've been in good times. We've been in good times for the past 83 years, right? Since the end of World War II, 84 now. And I think that due to that, it makes it very, very easy for people to become relaxed and for people to start making up issues. And for whatever reason, the rise of a lot of these other groups or fronts seem to be pulling at the strings of what they perceive masculinity to be. And it almost makes it very difficult for men to be men in today's day and age. I'm not talking about, boys having locker room talk, obviously myself included, but boys, men, whoever, just adults, we make mistakes, okay? And we learn from those mistakes. And I think that's also part of masculinity. And I do not think that any form of positive masculinity involves the tearing down of another or the pushing down of another. I think it's about empowering and lifting people up of all backgrounds and all ages. And this equality movement Okay. I am for it, but that's fundamentally the wrong word, because there are things that men can do really well. There are things that women can do really well. There are things that trans people can do really well. And then people of all colors and backgrounds and whatever genders. Okay. There are all things we do innately very well, but it doesn't mean we're all equal, right? We all have equal rights. I am for that. I am proudly for that. And I'm proudly for of however you would like to identify and show up in this world. I will always be an advocate of that. But I think when we try to homogenize everybody into the same category, especially when it comes to genders, because this sort of, protect and provide and selfless aspect that I believe masculinity has, I do not believe that women have that same sort of energy. I believe they do for their kids, and I do believe that they are very loyal to their emotions. But I think there are things that women have that are fundamentally different than men have, that make them very caring, that they can multitask, that they are just extremely detail oriented in a lot of ways that men are not. Now, however, I will say that we each have masculine and feminine energies in each of our beings in varying levels. That is for sure something that I do know. However, I don't think that masculinity has gone anywhere. Okay, to answer this question, is it under attack? Yes. Is it slightly being homogenized? Yes. Is it being demonized in movies or TV shows or even in pop culture? Also, yes. But I think that men who fundamentally stand for similar things that I've mentioned have been labeled as perhaps even being toxic, right? And it makes me feel uncomfortable to even talk about this on the podcast, because I don't believe I'm a toxic male, but I believe I fully believe that good men have sort of gone into hiding or have hid their thoughts or aren't putting themselves out there anymore. And whether it's the dissolution of families in today's society, or men don't know how to be men, or men are afraid to be men, right? We're afraid to be strong and opinionated and whatever. I think it's made it a very difficult world for men to find other men in, right? They've kind of receded. They haven't gone anywhere. It's not under attack, but I think the masculine era is sort of in hibernation right now, and time will sort of tell with that one. I'm at 5 minutes, so I'm going to cut myself off. Great question. Thank you for submitting that. You know who you are. Now, question number 2, what are some things I can do to retain my masculinity? Okay. I had to think about this question when I first saw it, and my answer is this. I think retaining your masculinity right now is very much dependent on that first question. I think sort of shutting down, bringing all of your energy back in, figuring out who you are, what sort of hobbies that you are, what are the things that you want to do in your life, and not necessarily feeling like you have to be friends with everybody, that you have to, people please. I think in order to retain your masculinity, you have to retain your individuality. Like, what makes you an individual at the end of the day? What do you do? Do you skydive? Do you do jujitsu? Right? Did you serve in the military? Right? Like, what school did you go to? What are the things that you do now? What do you do for work? What makes you an individual at the end of the day? And if you can answer those things and say, hey, I've done this, this is who I am, this is where I want to go, this is who I want to be, that sort of backbone or that sort of arrow of your life, right? Hey, this is where I was, this is where I am now, and then this is the trajectory that I want to go in. That sort of flight path, arrow, backbone, whatever metaphor you want to use for this, that is a great way to retain your masculinity. Okay. I think a lot of people in today's day and age, and I see this with the younger generations too, a lot of people are just willy-nilly sort of going through the motions of whatever they feel they need to do in order to sort of find themselves, or they just go on to the next thing, or people just want to get through the first 5 days of the week so they can go out drinking with their friends the next couple nights. And this sort of lack of a 2, 5, 10-year plan is really what's causing men to sort of lose themselves, right? They don't have concrete goals. They don't feel like these things are achievable, or even worse, they make these things and they fall off the radar. Okay, they fall off the radar by giving up on their own dreams. And that is a surefire way to sort of lose your masculinity. I think masculinity also, like, you have got to get up more times than you get knocked down. I have been knocked down countless times. Okay. And it's exhausting. It's tiring. I've been doing it for a long time. You feel like you're in survival mode all the time. But in order to retain your masculinity, you cannot ever get defeated. I think masculine energy is undefeated in terms of always being able to get up. Okay. You're going to suffer defeats. You're going to get beat downs. You're going to get rejected. You're going to fail, right? You're not going to get things. That girl's not going to talk to you. She doesn't like you back, or whatever happens. But in order to retain your masculinity, you have got to have the ability to forge on in your own life and your livelihood, right? You have got to seek out growth. You have got to seek out discomfort. Okay. And life will always, always bring you discomfort. Okay. That is without a doubt. Okay. But if you can choose your own discomfort in order to prepare you for that discomfort, you're going to be in better shape for that. And I think part of that is exercise. I think part of that is self-growth. Part of that is doing things that don't make you necessarily feel comfortable, but will prepare you for an upcoming battle or an upcoming thing. Okay. That's really all I have for that question. Just what are some things you can do in order to retain your masculinity? I'll just sort of reiterate really quick. I think it's disappearing, feeling like you don't have to be on social media all the time, being able to be by yourself. That's a great way to retain your masculinity, right? Thinking who you are, pursuing self-growth. That's reading books, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, growing a business or growing your professional career. And then, of course, I'm going to throw this in, working on the 6 aspects of life, right? Personal, mental, physical, mental, emotional, academic, spiritual, financial. Okay. When you can work on those 6 things of your life, I think that's a great way to sort of retain your masculinity as well. Okay. I'm going to hop into question number 3, episode 22. What are some things that kill masculinity? Okay. This is a great question. Things that kill masculinity. Number 1, I will say it's pretty self-evident, but feeling the need to tell people that you're masculine. Okay. Bro, if you're listening to this podcast and you know who you are submitting this question, but if you need to tell people that you're an alpha male or that you're masculine or you're a sigma male or you're an omega male, right? Whatever Greek letter that we're going to use, that's a surefire way to tell people that, hey, I'm not a man. Women and men innately know when they see and feel the presence of a man. That guy takes his time. He looks people in the eyes. He listens more than he talks. He knows how to, crack a smile. He's well dressed. You can see a person's swagger, right? And when you truly see someone in their pure masculine, right? Think about Christian Bale and Batman, right? When he's at all of these swanky dinner parties, right? It's just effortless, okay? He's just charming. He's witty. He's funny. He knows when to excuse himself. He's not stressed out at all. And that to me is sort of the air of what it means to be a masculine person. And anything that sort of kills that or would be a detriment to that, right? Whether it be anxiety or depression or worrying about things out of their control, these things, or eating bad food, not working out, these will be things that kill that sort of masculine vibe right there. And if you are not working out, if you're not eating well, if you're not meditating, if you're not taking the time to yourself, if you're not investing in yourself, whether that's through reading books or just spending time in nature or traveling to new places, or not listening to people and building new friendships and business partnerships, these are things that you need to be doing in order to get to that masculine energy. That masculine core is within all of us. And there are times where we all exude that very energy, and it's a beautiful thing, right? When we feel like we're in that flow state, okay, especially for men, that feels so good. Okay. I can tell you this, and I'm sure every other guy that's listening to this podcast, you've all felt that way at one time or another, whether that was at prom, whether it was on your wedding day, whether it was on a vacation. We've all sort of been in that flow state where we're saying the right things and we're smiling and our body language is good and we're flirting and we're doing whatever. And it just feels incredible to be right there. The things that you did up until that point, I want you to think about now, right? You can pause the podcast, but truly think about those things that you were doing up until that point, right? It was probably eating well. It was probably exercising. It was probably traveling. It was probably crushing your career. It was probably a culmination of all of these single events leading to that sort of energetic vibe. And that is what I want you to do, because if you are not doing those things, you are killing your own masculine vibration, and you have got to figure out how to get that back. Again, that's meditating, that's eating well, that's spending time with yourself, that's spending time reading books. That's spending time in nature, right? That's crushing your career. That's crushing all of your goals. And it's feeling it's the bringing in of your own energy, right? It's not having to put that on social media or scroll through Instagram and look what other people are fucking doing for 10 hours a day. That kind of stuff will kill your own masculine vibration. And I think for men, especially since this episode is mostly geared towards guys, you have got to figure out how to sort of retain your energy. And it is, I'm going to say this one time, but it is so good to be mysterious. When people don't know what you're doing, when people don't know the moves that you're making or what you want or what you're trying to do, and they are spending time thinking about what you're doing, that is also a way that you are attaining power. Because when you are mysterious, both men, women, pretty much everybody else absolutely loves it. Okay. Maybe not at first. They're not going to tell you that they like it, but it's very intriguing to them. And that's what they like about it, is not knowing who you are and what you're doing or who you're working on becoming. And I think that's very powerful for a lot of guys to hear. So I'm going to end it there, but that is essentially my sort of take on masculinity. Again, I am so understanding and welcoming of all genders and all backgrounds. And I hope this didn't come across as a toxic masculine podcast. Again, I really, really believe that all of us have, various gifts and talents that we bring to the world in differing levels. And I think that overall, that pie chart is, man, I don't even know. I don't even have a good metaphor for this one, but I've talked a little bit too much for this podcast. I really, really just, if you have questions, please email me. I'm happy to discuss a lot of these things. Again, you can submit questions at 3questionspodcast@gmail.com, or you can go on the website, ckcollective.co. That is all I've got for episode 22. Thank you guys very much for listening. And I will, of course, see you in the next one, episode 23. Thanks and goodbye.